All right, trying this out. So I have maintenance to do in our snake room like I do every day, so I thought I would try doing it on live on YouTube this time and see how it goes. So if you have questions, throw them in here. If I miss something, just let me know and I'll see if I can get to it when I can. I'm gonna be just doing a lot of, well, cleaning enclosures. There are snakes in here that have pooped that need to have that cleaned up. So I'll just kind of do this while I'm, wow, it does not like focusing, does it? Okay. A lot of the aspects of the maintenance here are not very fun. It's just picking up poop, that kind of thing. And snakes do poop enough to where I gotta keep doing that, of course. How's it going? If I miss a question, because I'm running around, just ask it again and I'll try to show you. In the future, I might even get smart enough to get a moderator so I can have actually questions read to me when I'm doing this. But a lot of this is just kind of solo work. So one of the things I'm doing today is there are a number of these snakes that are just starting to get their first meals for the year after waking up from hibernation, and some of them rejected them. So I will leave the mouse in there for a little while, but if they're not going to eat it, I'm not going to leave it in there to rot, so it needs to be taken out. So there's a few of these animals that have situations like that. We're going to go in there and get that rodent before it starts to smell bad. Nobody needs stinky mice. How old is that snake? That snake is, well, I don't know. We've had it for a number of years now. It is an Arizona black rattlesnake from the Surbat Mountains of western Arizona, and it was collected to get venom samples for a project that we were working on. Over here's a tiger rattlesnake enclosure. I'm gonna have to pull them out so that I can change their water and do some things. Most of this really isn't very exciting. It shouldn't be exciting. If it's exciting, then something's going wrong. You're also definitely not going to see me do things like holding the animals without tools, that kind of dumb thing. There's certainly a lot of that, but it's not necessary and doesn't help anybody. I think I kind of realized when I was looking at social media channels for venomous snakes in general, you would get the impression maybe that that most of what they do is eat, because that's what people tend to show. This is actually what a lot of it is like, is just pulling the animals out so that I can change their water or clean their stuff. There you are. rattlesnake. Just a few lumps in her. She's very old. She has some strange kind of tumors that aren't great. Where's the other one? Here she is. Here's the other little tiger. No, I can't work in here safely. These ones have not eaten yet this year. They're just kind of now starting to wake up, so that can take a little while. Trying to see if it's possible just to have the chat on all the time. I'm unfamiliar with this. Yeah, it keeps hiding it every time I leave. Friend has 5 snakes. That's good. Every day I probably have about a half hour worth of this kind of work. That's pretty easy though. Do you know if Colorado has rattlesnakes? You're trying to move there in June and want to make sure they're safe. Yeah, there are rattlesnakes in Colorado. A lot of it has rattlesnakes. It depends on where you are though. If you're out near nature at all in most of the state, there are rattlesnakes you could run into. Prairie rattlesnakes are very common. The grasses near the Front Range in the west end of the state are where a lot of those encounters happen. That's also where there's a lot of the people that are in Colorado. It's one of the things. So, you know, it's not something you have to really worry about that much. You shouldn't not move to Colorado because there's rattlesnakes there. Just, you know, be careful in the areas where rattlesnakes could be. You should be all right. If you have a dog, you know, use a leash. Don't reach into places that you can't see. The usual things. This really big old tiger rattlesnake that is. She's got some lumps in her. They're not great. She's got some little tumors. She's a very old snake. Hey, where are you going? Why are you leaving? This one decided to just like escape. Don't do that. Go back inside. Yeah, I think it's the first time they've had this happen to them this year. Next in here we have some sidewinders that need to be cleaned up. And this won't be a long live either. I'm just kind of checking to see if it's something that I want to do. I can tell already just with the format and how the comments disappear almost immediately after somebody asks a question that the way I'm doing this right now is not going to work in the long term. I definitely need to have somebody that can read those for me. So that's fine. It's okay to do a little bit of experimentation to see what's going to work and what's interesting for people. You might be asking questions right now. I have no idea if you are or not. No poop in there. these sidewinders that I have are special. They come from an area near the East Valley of Phoenix that, well, that area doesn't really exist anymore as a natural area. So before the bulldozers showed up, Jeff and his brother Burke grabbed a couple of these sidewinders before they were all killed, and now we keep them. That's one of the ways that we get animals. It's kind of a unique one where we actually know that an area is going to be destroyed. All the snakes that live there are going to be killed. So we were able to get in there, and at least these two are able to survive from that. Much better to do it that way too than to, take them out of the wild or anything like that. Okay, see if one else. It's still so cool outside that water just doesn't evaporate very much. And as a result, we don't have as much to do here right now. They're still kind of being sluggish, not eating a lot. What do we do if we have a rattlesnake that won't move? Are you talking about like on a trail or something like that? If there's a rattlesnake that won't get out of the way? In that case, if that's what you're talking about, you basically just back off and it'll want to go. That's one of the things, is that the snake is not persisting there because it's guarding the trail or some of the types of things you might have heard. It's not standing its ground or defending its territory. From its perspective, what it seems to be doing to keep a predator, which it thinks you are, from killing it is to maintain its defensive position. So if it were to lift that, then it feels like it could be injured. So if you just get out of sight entirely for a couple of minutes, then that snake is going to feel that, well, shoot, I gotta get out of here. That's what she's gonna do. This is a little different one. This is not a rattlesnake. This is a copperhead. That was given to us by the Arizona Herpetological Association back when they were doing stuff. All that sound you're hearing is me squirting stuff with a hose. And this snake has also not eaten yet this year. Is just coming out of hibernation, just starting to show signs of hunting behavior, which is one of the things that I look for when it's time to feed them. I don't feed them on a schedule. I don't feed them, to kind of put on a display. It is based entirely on their behavior and their condition and, what they look like. Obesity in rattlesnakes in captive situations is very common. And I'm putting this over here because that one up on top is a mess. That is a prairie rattlesnake, and it pooped everywhere, it looks like. How careful do you have to be of random teeth in cages? It can happen. I always watch it. That's part of the reason I wear these gloves. These gloves are not going to protect me from a random fang. But what I do is I just never really touch anything. I have scoops and tools, all kinds of stuff. That's the easiest way to prevent those types of situations, is to just never let yourself have that level of contact. This prairie rattlesnake has a very good feeding response, so always have to be careful, because if somebody's gonna come shooting out of the enclosure after anything that seems warm, it's gonna be him. he made a mess. So poop over the side, alright, so. Here's why I don't worry about things. I use a scoop. I look for that stuff just for spot cleaning. They get full cleaning sometimes. Okay. And it's all down here. So get stuff out. I like this particular substrate that I use for desert rattlesnakes. I would not recommend it for a lot of other reptiles, but for these particular animals, this finely crushed walnut seems to work really well. It doesn't retain a lot of moisture, which is what you want for desert animals, and it also just soaks that stuff up. So if an animal poops or something, it's almost like kitty litter. You can just remove it and it doesn't spread anywhere. Which can help things with just the overall bacteria load in the enclosure, and the health of the animals ultimately. One of the things that we never really have to worry about here because of things like that is respiratory infections. Respiratory infections are really, it's one of the big things that happen with reptiles that cause problems for them, and we use a lot of ventilation. We have fans. We keep the water in there to actually a minimum and change the bowls more often, and use substrate like that, so we never have respiratory infections. I know, it's super fun, isn't it, to watch me clean glass? It happens. I don't always clean the glass. I mean, it's kind of like, this is not a zoo where people are looking in here very often. If it's just dusty or something, I won't really do anything with it, but if there's poop on it like that, then certainly I'm gonna. I also really don't tail anything. I know that is the thing you might see a lot. It's not that tailing rattlesnakes is bad. I just know that if I'm double hooking, I can get away without touching the snakes at all. And that's just one extra layer of safety for me. I mean, if I can do this with only using tools, like you're seeing, I'm only using tools. I'm never touching the rattlesnake. I'm never touching its poop where there could be fangs. I'm not touching any proteins from the animals directly. Everything is very separated by an additional layer, and that's going to keep me safe in the long run. There's not a whole lot of things that can injure me that way as long as I stick to that. A lot of the accidents that tend to happen from keeping rattlesnakes come from the human tendency to take shortcuts too. And if you have that tendency that you need to take shortcuts, you may not have the it's a personality type to do this safely, I think. All right, I'm gonna clean this one last stack for the day. This one does not get because it pooped. This snake is probably going to be getting an enclosure upgrade shortly here. It's a pretty large snake, and it's kind of outgrown that enclosure. I wasn't even expecting him to grow a lot when we took him in, but he definitely has. all of the affected substrate out. If anybody is in Arizona and wants to come say hi, we're going to be at the Arizona Game and Fish Department Outdoor Expo this upcoming next weekend at the Game and Fish headquarters, or it's actually at the what's that, Ben Avery Shooting Facility in North Phoenix, kind of Peoria actually. We're going to be bringing some rattlesnakes there next weekend, and we'll have them on display for the entire weekend. So if you want to see some animals, come say hi. That's where we're going to be. I'll be there. I'm not sure who else is going to show up to volunteer, really, but there's going to be a lot of other animals there too, which is cool. It's a very easygoing snake. Some of these are very easy to keep. Snake like that has a good feeding response, really doesn't need a lot of work. All right, checking for comments. I have to like push 3 buttons on here just to see if anyone said anything. It's terrible. Figure it out. Next time I'll get a moderator or something so I can actually see the comments. But I'll read them later. If you have questions, put them in there. Maybe I can make a video or something later to address them. This is a little banded, or actually modeled rock rattlesnake. It's from Texas. It's not from Arizona. But we took this in. A friend of mine was moving and needed to get rid of a snake. And I love these little guys, and they are very, so you can still use them for education. So I took him in. It's been great to keep. The problem is that his habitat is a bunch of jumbled rocks, and make it a little bit difficult to catch them sometimes with that pole nose apart. They know how to escape. Really pretty one. No hoops. Also, I gotta say, anytime I'm on one of these, if you see some hard water deposits on these bowls, we have the hardest water. We're on a well, so that means that it's impossible to not have hard water deposits using a well. The other thing is too is that because we have so much ventilation in these enclosures, one of these water bowls will go entirely dry in 3 or 4 days. So there's a lot of evaporation that happens in here, so don't look at those and think, oh, that's dirty. It's not neglect, it's how much is there. I don't like the chemicals that are used for controlling that kind of deposits too. I think that those are probably pretty dangerous to even have any kind of residue around. So they have deposits. This is an aesthetic thing, I don't care. On to the midget faded rattlesnake. Easy. This some lid proof. Snake won't really get any bigger than this, probably. It's a big one. I mean, it's a midget faded rattlesnake. They're not very large. It has incredibly toxic venom. This individual is from Colorado. We took him in, and he was a tiny baby from a venom lab. Really cool snake. They can be difficult to keep, but he has a very good feed response, so hasn't been a problem at all. In fact, that's why he won't go back in. He thinks everything else will. I don't, sorry, buddy. He does get to eat soon, though. The last time he ate was February 11th, as soon as he woke up. Okay, this one down here is not a rattlesnake, but it is finally awake, so I'll show you it. Been waiting for this one to wake up for a little while. Come here. Okay. Don't bite me. It might. This is an Arizona mountain king snake. Very cool. Yes, it is true a rattlesnake can still bite when its head is chopped off. It's an unfortunate thing, if you really think about it, of the conversation around that, you know, because when people ask if a rattlesnake can still bite when its head is cut off, it's because they're, you know, somebody's saying, well, you got to bury the head 6 feet under the ground to avoid being bitten by a decapitated rattler, or you can just not cut the head off a rattlesnake. That's the easiest way to avoid that. If you see a snake and it's over there and it's not near you, unless you choose to mess with it, you cannot be bitten by it. But our brains don't want to do that. We want to do something. Anyway, that's not a venomous snake, obviously, but one that I enjoy keeping. It helps with education. People think it's a coral snake a lot of times. What else do we get? I think that is it for the day. That's it. I mean, a lot of this type of stuff is, it's a daily routine that doesn't take me that long when I get to it. And if I just go through a section like that every day, it's pretty easy to maintain this. I mean, it's not a huge collection by any means, but since it is just me that maintains it, it can get that way, or it can certainly get out of hand if I don't pay attention to it. Look, he's all awake. All the Gila monsters are happy. All right, well, I'm gonna get out of here. It was a good experiment. I think next time I definitely need to see if I can get somebody involved to read comments while I'm working. It's a little hard to do it all at once, and the format is a little goofy. So anyway, Thanks for hanging in there. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll see if I can add them to a next video. I don't even know how to leave this thing. I'll see ya.